One of the most excruciating aspects of having a spiritual awakening is having to come face to face with how much you have been in denial. You learn that there have been parts of yourself that have been pulling in opposite directions, that have been in direct conflict with each other. And when you can see these parts of your energy, your soul, that have been fragmented through the trauma of your past and the painful trauma energy that you're holding, this realization is really painful. It's really difficult. This is the brutal reality of having a spiritual awakening and being on the spiritual path. And it's a pain that most people aren't wanting to face. They're not wanting to find the truth of what is really happening. And so it keeps them trapped in the comfort of what they've known, in the state of the blissful ignorance. What I came to learn was that we are essentially all blind to our own dysfunction. There is a fragmentation within our consciousness between the things that we want and we desire, which are often occurring in the conscious mind, which is the third dimension of consciousness, the third dimension of your awareness and reality. But what occurs in the lower two dimensions, in the unconscious and the subconscious realms, is often something that is vastly different. All of the thoughts, all of the beliefs that we don't want, that we are judging as being either negative or undesirable, get suppressed down into those lower realms of consciousness, those lower aspects of reality, because there is some kind of conflict within us. And we don't want to face the fact that there are thoughts or energies that we don't like occurring within us. If we then can adopt this understanding of saying, okay, if I'm blind to my own dysfunction, this realization is actually a huge gift. And this is the main difference between people who are on a path of radical growth and change and people who are stuck and stagnant, or perhaps increasingly moving through life with more pain or more difficulty. We have to be able to acknowledge and find the strength in ourselves to say, there are things occurring that I don't know or I haven't realized. And with this realization of being able to say, I haven't got all of the answers, there is information that I am yet to discover about myself, that I am yet to find out. Once you can adopt this approach or this perspective of being the student of life, being the student of your own consciousness, the beginner's mindset, being humble, then doors will open to you, because you can start to have curiosity and self-inquiry and analyze. I wonder what could be going on here that I haven't realized or I haven't worked out before. What could be occurring that is outside of the conscious awareness, that one band of consciousness and reality that I am feeling in control of? You know, what lies outside of those boundaries, outside of that perimeter fence? And then you basically can become the detective of your own mind. You can adopt the curiosity of being your own podcast interviewer, to analyze, okay, well, why am I thinking that? Or why do I speak to myself in that way? Or why is this pattern repeating in my life? Is there something that I'm doing to create it? Is there something I could change or shift in my outlook or my energy to get a different outcome? And this is an extremely empowering place to be. Once you can say, I am on this journey of discovery, then you are taking back control. You are taking back the reins, taking hold of the steering wheel. And your growth and your development will be profoundly increased. Changes will come at an accelerated rate compared to when you adopt the position of, I know exactly what's going on, I know who I am or what I'm thinking, or I already have all the answers. That really is the place of a sign of someone who is deeply afraid, deeply insecure, that they feel too vulnerable to be able to say, okay, what haven't I seen? Or what is there for me to learn here? This is the big realization, the role of denial. And once you can see it in yourself and start to move down this path of self inquiry, and that snowballs in your own awareness, then you will also be able to perceive it happening all around you. You will be able to see it happening in real time in other people. When perhaps, let's say someone's words are telling you one answer, but their body language or their movements or their energy is telling you something different. It's telling you something opposite than what their words are. And what you are witnessing here in that moment is that fracturing of that person's conscious mind in the third dimension and the answer that they want to be able to give, and the energy that is being held, or the opinions, or the consciousness that is being held in the other dimensions, which are really giving it a different answer. And this is occurring all the time in everybody to varying degrees. And in some ways, it becomes very reassuring to realize, oh, okay, phew, at least it wasn't just me. It is something that is occurring for everybody. Now, what we are really doing here is learning to master our own awareness, learning to master our own consciousness, our own identity. And as you can identify distortions and bring them back into a level of wholeness, you can heal the fragmentation of your own energy field. I spoke before about how when trauma is created, it's like having a vase that gets shattered and a piece of the vase is scattered across the floor. What we are doing when we are identifying and analyzing these places of denial within ourselves, it is the recovery of these scattered pieces. And that enables us to be able to restore our energy, restoring that vase back into wholeness. In many ways, we have to come to the realization of admitting to ourselves how much we have been gaslighting ourselves. And this is where doing research or studying about mind control or the psychology of cults, the psychology of narcissism, this is going to be hugely beneficial for starting to be able to understand and unpick, where have I been gaslighting myself? Where have I been believing in my own narcissistic delusions? Because when we lie to ourselves and we're in denial, we're not wanting to face the truth, and we create a version of reality or a perspective of reality that somehow meets our needs, meets our insecurities, protects us from our fears. And so we end up living inside of this delusion. This is the exact same pattern that, on a more exaggerated scale, we would all recognize as someone who is narcissistic, who has created a following that we would refer to as a cult. So someone who is living in a world of narcissistic delusion, when they can convince and persuade other people to buy into their delusional thinking, that is when you have a setup of a community that we would refer to as a cult. It's essentially the buying in of a communal delusion from one person who is, or many people, it can obviously be more than one, but for this example, one person's trauma that has caused the fragmentation and the distortion within their own reality. So what I'm really trying to say is, this is a, unpopular opinion. We all have the mechanism of the cult leader, the narcissistic delusion, happening within us all. There is no one that is not doing this to some degree. In what ways have you been lying to yourself? In what ways have you been in denial about the way that you really feel, or the things that have happened to you in the past, or the extent to which your past is still affecting you every day, in the thoughts that you have, in the way that you treat yourself, in the way that you treat others, in the way that you are experiencing reality? The extreme example of the cult that we might see out there in society is really a gift. It's a reflection of something that is occurring within us ourselves, within us all. It is mirroring back to us a piece of our own behavior, our own potential. And when you can acknowledge that and understand that and humble yourself to that realization, then you can say, okay, so what do I want to do about that? If there are parts of me who are living within a trauma aligned delusional belief system or delusional perspectives, and that is affecting my life and my experience of reality, and therefore it's affecting the other people around me as well, what do I want to do about that? This also links through to the topic of understanding the ways in which we are all habitually numbing ourselves. This distortion from truth, this distortion from love, is a distortion from your true nature as an unconditionally loving divine being. The part of you that has aligned with these trauma responses, the part of you that is in agreement with distortions, creates a pain, creates a residual discomfort. And it is this discomfort from the skeletons of the past that we have been holding energetically in our field, and in our energy field, in our aura. It is this discomfort that people are running away from and are trying to soothe themselves from without consciously being aware of it. This could include people who are using alcohol, using drugs, using sex or porn, using shopping or social media, scrolling, or even work. All of these behaviors can become a way that we are soothing ourselves from the pain that we are not wanting to acknowledge. And the behavior and the dopamine hit becomes the medication, it becomes the distraction. Cigarette smoking as well, I should have added that in. And on a conscious level, people aren't aware. We're not aware that, oh, I'm feeling the urge to do this behavior because I'm running away from my baggage. Instead, there's that subconscious urge to be like, oh, I really fancy a cigarette, or I really fancy a drink. And that is what is happening on the conscious layer of your awareness. But we have to start questioning what are the multidimensional systems that are being reinforced, the mechanics of why we are all feeling the need to numb ourselves and soothe ourselves in ways that we know are destructive. So the contemplation I'm going to leave you with today is start questioning, start analyzing, where have I been lying to myself? Where have I been in denial about how I speak to myself, my thoughts, my behavior? And notice, where are the moments that you are seeking to medicate yourself in some way? Whether it be something that is judged harshly against by society, such as someone who might be an alcoholic or a drug addict, or some form of behavior that society may actually applaud, such as people who are workaholics. You know, sometimes those numbing behaviors actually get a round of applause from people. Question, what haven't I seen before? What forms of dysfunction have I been blind to that I can start to see and uncover and acknowledge, so that I move into an empowered state of being able to take control of the situation, identify it, transmute it, heal it. The knock-on process towards healing yourself and changing your life and experiencing more of the love of the divine and the connection to the divine in your reality all starts with the step of acknowledging denial and acknowledging the role of denial that is playing out in not just my life, not just your life, but for everyone.